real quick. Trump's just outside of a fire station after leaving court. He's got pizza for the guys. This is typical Trump. Let's poke in and see what he's up to right there. And Joe Biden, he can walk up to a firehouse, a police station. He can walk into a boardroom, a bowling alley, or a bar and have a conversation with absolutely anybody. We don't have any audio on him right now, but apparently he's going inside to talk to these firefighters, which is, by the way, right outside the studio, folks. This is incredible. The fact that he leaves court, goes and campaigns with these people, and it goes in campaigns with ordinary people, not high-dollar fundraisers with Lizzo like Joe Biden did recently.
Meanwhile,
let me say this, the politics of that, what is being robbed by them not doing that, Joe, where you and I agree, how do the Democrats, how do all of us on that side say January 6th was wrong if you can have the same pictures going on college campuses?
Good Lord, don't make a parallel with January 6th.
You lose the moral high ground.
That has happened, though.
Okay,
that has happened.
So we know what's going on here, just the latest from the AP, and then we're going to go live to the scene.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Have I told you guys that the current Democrat Civil War is my favorite story by far going on in the media today? I mean, it basically is the main story, okay? And one of the reasons why it's my favorite story is because this is what Democrats deserve, okay? I try to tell you guys all the time in politics, the pendulum always swings the other way. And the Democrats are facing the consequences of a monster they created during 2020, during the George Floydification of this country. And the mainstream liberal media is freaking out about that, okay? Because they are now seeing the reality of the fact that, hey, we can't come out here and talk about how things were so chaotic under Trump and how there was destruction and chaos when under our guy, Joe Biden, there's a whole lot of destruction and chaos, and we can't really blame Trump, okay? I mean, you have Trump, after his trials, basically running circles around Democrats by turning his trials into a PR campaign where, you know, after the trial, he'll talk about the economy, he'll talk about the state of the country, and then he'll go out and give pizza to firefighters, or he will have some campaign rally with construction workers and normal everyday people, right? I mean, Trump is looking like the people's champ, okay? While on the other side of this issue, Biden, he seems to have lost control of the country. So much control that you have the mainstream liberal media, people like Al Sharpton, basically coming out here and saying, well, hey, these riots from the woke extremists on these college campuses, this kind of looks like January 6th. And if you notice during that clip, Mika Brzezinski flipped out right when he said that. It was like, oh, don't bring up January 6th. But it's just so funny because a few days earlier, she compared the riots from the woke extremists to January 6th.
Well, Richard, to your point, I think that's the place we've all been sitting in watching this, going, what the hell is going on? What are these universities doing? Why aren't they doing something? And I'll echo the horror that this does look like January 6th. What a terrible example for our students. At the same time, these are young adults, and the question is, why do you choose to learn about the complexities of other situations around the world? But this one, you want to set up an encampment. This one, you want to scare people. This one, you want to come to the edge of violence or even go to violence.
Not the
this
edge.
One,
they're
you risk
into buildings.
Your future and your education for. See, I think these college students obviously are missing the part where they need to see what's going on across the country with these protests, that it's now in the realm of violence. It's in the realm of hatred, whether some are peaceful or not. They need to watch the news.
Yeah, so apparently one of Mika Brzezinski's handlers, maybe it was somebody from the Biden administration, maybe it was some higher up at MSNBC, told her, hey, don't make this comparison to January 6th, right? Don't compare these woke extremists destroying these college campuses to January 6th. Don't do that, right? Don't do that. You can't do that, right? And also, apparently, you're not supposed to watch the news either, because she says, hey, you need to turn on the news, right? Watch the news. But now, Joe Scarborough and they freak out over what is happening on college campuses and realizing that, hey, this makes Democrats look bad, told viewers to change the channel. If you are too progressive, aka stupid, to understand that what these woke communists are doing on these college campuses is making Joe Biden look bad and helping Trump.
But I can tell you the riots on college campuses, the riots at the Chicago Convention in '68, all of those things moved my family from being Democrats their entire life to being Republicans. I remember I was young, and I remember my parents asking, what in the world is going on in this country? And of course, you know, they were raised in the Great Depression in rural Georgia. Kind of hard for them to hear rich kids on campus of Harvard or taking over campuses at Columbia. But if you're offended by this, please, I'm trying to help you. I don't want Donald Trump to get elected, all right?
There you go.
Trying to help you. If you're too stupid to figure that out, you change to another channel, because we're sorting through this as a country, and this is not helping. This is not helping the people of Gaza, and this is not helping those of us who want to fight fascism in America. But Richard, you remember '68? It was a tidal wave. There's a reason that Reagan won with a lot of young voters in 1980. There's a reason the Reagan Revolution took place. The seeds were planted in 1968. And again, when I say that, I'm not saying that the Vietnam War wasn't an unjust war. It was. I'm saying there are ways, as the Rev has proven. So he proved in Vieques, as Martin Luther King has proven, as others have proven. There are ways to do this that helps the cause without hurting, without aiding the worst elements in American politics.
Yeah, so even though Joe Scarborough pretends to be conservative, even though he openly roots for Joe Biden, the most progressive president of our lifetimes, I have to say I agree with him when it comes to his take, right? I agree with him in the sense that, yes, these riots and protests from these woke extremists are most definitely helping Trump out. Because what is happening is that people are once again seeing that, hey, Orange Man was not the problem, okay? These Democrats boohoo, whining, and crying about Trump when he was in office in 2020 during the pandemic. He was not the problem, okay? We've already seen that when it comes to world wars, right? Under Trump, we didn't have any new wars. Under Biden, we have a bunch of new wars. Under Trump, the border was not wide open. Under Biden, the border is wide open. Under Trump, the economy was great up until the pandemic. Now, Democrats blame the pandemic economy on Trump. Biden gets in office and the economy gets worse, right? So that wasn't Trump's fault either. Now, what you have is destruction and chaos in these liberal cities at the hands of these woke extremists, in which Democrats blame that on Trump as well, too. The BLM riots that happened in 2020 were weaponized by Democrats. This is why they supported them. It was weaponized by Democrats in order to try to say, well, Trump being in office is the cause of all the hate and vitriol in this country. You need to vote Joe Biden back into office to return to normalcy. However, that's not what happened when Joe Biden took office, right? When Joe Biden took office, the hate and vitriol got even worse, okay? You now have BLM Part 3, right, happening on these college campuses right at the same time they started to do it under Trump. That's the irony here, right? That's the crazy part. This is why I believe that this is karma. This is why I get so annoyed when you have these Republicans that are out here rushing to virtue signal to Israel by coming out here and trying to say, hey, the protests need to stop. The protests need to stop. The protests need to stop. Now, again, I want to be clear. I don't endorse violence. All of these violent individuals should be arrested. However, everybody else, I'm not going to sit here and say that I endorse the protest, but I'm going to play the same game that the Democrats played, and I'm going to say, hey, well, at the end of the day, You know, like I'm going to turn the other way and just, be neutral. Because let's be honest, everybody involved in this conflict on the left, they're woke. All of them are woke. This is why I don't have a dog in the fight. They're all woke. All of these people that are fighting each other on the left right now, we're all against Trump, right? All these people voted against Trump, okay? All these people hate Republicans. They hate conservatives. And again, this is why, it pains me to see Republicans simping for some of these people because it's like, yo, these are leftists. You're simping for leftists, right? Just so you can get donations, okay? When these people, right, these same people, these lunatics were attacking actual conservative Christians on college campuses, you guys didn't have a damn thing to say about it. You weren't flexing your power to try to get rid of the administrators at these college campuses that were allowing conservatives to be harassed, to be subject to threats of violence. But then all of a sudden you want to be big and bad and so tough, and you want to pass all this legislation. But again, I ask, okay, and I think that conservative voters should be asking the same question. Where was the hate speech bill to protect conservatives on college campuses? Where was the hate speech bill to protect Christians, right? That's what we should be asking the Republican Party right now. We should be saying, hold on. Do you actually care about your voters? Do you actually care about your voters, or do you just care about your donors, right? Who do you actually care about? That's the question we should be asking. But again, they're out here doing all this virtue signaling for a group of people that as soon as things go back to normal, okay, and Republicans or conservatives or Trump gets out of line, they'll be throwing that anti-Semitic slur at them, right? Oh, Trump's anti-Semitic for the things that he said about Jews in Israel, right? That's what they'll be doing, right? That's what they've been doing for the past 8 years.
Well, it's a great question. I think we even have to pull the lens back a bit more. The context, Andrea, is these are dangerous comments at a dangerous time. We have Christian nationalists running for office all over the United States. We have a governor of Pennsylvania running against a Jewish candidate who regularly refers to him as elitist, different than all of us, etc. We have college campuses that have just reopened and radical anti-Zionists running amok with anti-Semitic graffiti all over. And then into this mess comes Donald Trump. And as Ashley said, he has, been invoking anti-Semitic tropes for years about Jewish power, about Jewish greed, about dual loyalty. And now he adds fuel to the fire at a time when Jews literally feel threatened because the threats are so high with this, you called it cryptic in the opening, but let's just call it what it is: anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, and hateful, underlined, period.
And that's why if you're smart, right, and if you're a Republican, smart Republicans should be coming out here saying, look, Democrats, hey, they caused this problem. This is a monster that they created and they have to deal with it. We don't endorse any of the violence and stuff like that. But, other than that, Democrats got to deal with it. This is Biden's problem. We ain't got nothing else to say about it, right? Don't say anything else about it. Why are you trying to stop it? Why are you trying to get in the way? Because, look, Democrats, hey, they said, look, during the BLM riots, they said, well, this makes Trump look bad. Hey, we're going to turn the other way. And right now, I'm looking at these protests on these college campuses, and I'm saying, look, this makes Biden look bad. I'm going to turn the other way, right? I don't endorse any violence, okay? I think that the violence should stop and the violent people should be arrested, okay? I'm going to go on record and say that. But, hey, that's all I got to say about it, right? At that point, that's all I'm going to say about it. It's just going to be thoughts and prayers, right? Thoughts and prayers. That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. And again, it's so obvious that this is essentially making it so everything that Democrats said about Trump appears to, again, not be true, and that the real problem are actually the Democrats, because, again, they said that this stuff would stop. It would stop when Joe Biden got elected. It was all Trump's fault. But again, you have Trump out on the campaign trail, campaigning on law and order, campaigning on actually trying to get this country back to normal. He's the one campaigning on normalcy now against Joe Biden's destruction and chaos. And it's crazy because people can see the results of the Trump administration versus the Biden administration and know that, well, Trump's not lying. Trump's not gaslighting us on this. Under Trump, things were actually a lot better and a lot more normal under Trump. We like Trump's normalcy better than Joe Biden's normalcy. Again, it's so obvious that even Trump deranged individuals that are on the right, like Mark Thiessen, can see that, yeah, this is working out in favor of Trump. And again, it makes him look like the normal guy.
When there was so much tumult and anti-Vietnam protesting going on in the country, here's President Trump shaking hands with Wisconsin law enforcement yesterday. Take a look at this. All right, so you see the former president shaking hands and talking to people. Clearly, Mark, he sees this not only as something that he really has always done, I don't think it's disingenuous, but as an important message for his campaign, given what's going on.
Well, I mean, think about this. So if you look at the 2020 election, a vast majority of Americans said that before the election they were better off now than they were 4 years ago under Trump than they were before he took office. But a lot of people didn't vote for him because they were tired of the chaos. Well, here's the question. Is the chaos worse or better than it was now, than it was 4 years ago? There's chaos on our campuses. There's chaos on our borders. There's chaos in the Middle East. There's chaos in Europe. Biden has unleashed worse chaos than anything Donald Trump had ever done. And so Donald Trump is going to point that out. Donald Trump is actually going to be running as the candidate to return back to normalcy, which is quite ironic if you think about it. So, you know, the chaos is hurting Joe Biden, without a doubt. And it's everywhere.
What a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, it really is a crazy world. It really is, man. All of the Democrat tactics that they used to defeat Trump are now backfiring on them 4 years later, right? They're a victim of all the destruction and chaos that they endorsed in this country under the Trump administration and then try to blame Trump for it. And now that it's happening under Joe Biden, they've realized we overplayed our hand. We made a mistake, right? They're realizing it. Again, it's so bad that they're comparing it to January 6th. I mean, the biggest difference is that January 6th was much less serious than what's going on right now, right? I mean, in fact, we had January 6th before January 6th. We had a bunch of January 6s under BLM. In fact, they were, again, much worse than January 6th, okay? But again, back then, they didn't care. Totally fine. But now, fast forward, now, all of a sudden, they're saying, oh, well, you know, this type of violence is bad. We don't endorse this type of stuff. They're making comparisons to January 6th. Again, except this is much worse. And this is something that has been happening in this country before January 6th. It's just been coming from the left. And it's like I tell you guys all the time. A vast majority of the political violence and extremism that happens in this country is coming from the left. And networks like MSNBC and CNN have essentially flirted with the extremism over the last 8 years, and it is backfired now that their guy is in office, and it is going into an election year where, again, their victimhood coalition has collapsed under the weight of the fact that, hey, despite our hate for Orange Man, despite the Trump derangement, we can't point at the straight white conservative Christian male as the cause of all of our problems. We got to point at the allegedly straight white liberal male, right? That is the cause of our problems, right? Joe Biden, right? We got to point at him. He's the problem. And the Democrat Party, all of the people that support him. So this is a fascinating time period to be alive. And what we witnessed over the last 8 years should be written in political science books. It should be written in history books as an example of what happens when you foster extremism in a country for 8 years straight, right? How the pendulum can swing the other way, and it can ultimately end up backfiring on you when you flirt with this type of chaos and destruction. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.